He told me that. Paul's knocking on the door.
Or you can't just pop in, because
There's a lady on there?
Oh my God, first of all, even if they just clean your house, they're gonna real on the house.
That did not say the lady.
He's saying
No matter how small.
We
It says one.
We have, we're never here, so.
Good evening.
I'm gonna call Wanda. It looks like the lady, you point out letters, I'm telling you. But she wants to know.
You all right, brother?
But you're gonna talk anyway.
Hello, how are you? Congratulations, I'm glad you joined the group. Say something to Eddie.
This is what we're doing Friday. Over there.
Yes, I do.
This weekend, yeah.
Did you get anything up like that for Did you go for 5 minutes?
Cruising in the Corvette, playing cards. There you. Something else that. He said, she's doing very.
Is she?
The fireman, and she is getting around. First time I'm going to
Tell her I said hello and then I said, my friends left, so I didn't see her.
She is,
He's sort of pretty bad, doing amazing, he lost me.
So, yeah, I need to clarify which part.
she has exceeded everybody's expectations.
I'm glad to hear that. She needs to be here.
Telling me on that.
Thank you for recognizing me, baby. Thank you for
That's, well, I told you that I was going to be out of town, and I thought, he'll let me
Well, I decided this time I was wearing my shirt so nobody else would look at it.
That's not what I signed. This will be the year last year right here. I was going off the church. I was on the camp board down there. Finally decided to put the thing up. Is that class two? I was fixing to be board three. And now, I know this one. We're about to be looking at it. I got 4 or 5. Different? To me, and you know, to me, back and back.
That changed based on the class.
Yep, had to, I left, together everything,
You got it. How they have to dry off.
We're partners, that's one all this stuff. It's a lot more like a show than one that kind of deal. I'm gonna tell you, when he got.
That's your daughter?
Really? that don't happen. So it's, you know.
We'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. If y'all will please rise with me. And bow your heads for me. Lord, thank you for the day and the opportunity for us to come together again to do the business of the district. Please be with us and guide our thoughts and our words and our actions to bring the betterment to the district. Glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. The American flag over here. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
the Texas flag to the right.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. We got a guest who would like to speak. Not one? One. It's your turn. What's your real name again?
I'm Delaney.
There we go. Delaney. She got to write it down over here.
I'm
Delaney Wagner.
Yes.
Oh, good, because I said the one on a piece of paper. If you want to come to the lecture and speak,
Yes.
okay, come on. She wasn't nervous, she is now. Is that supposed to be recorded because it's still, is it out? It's on. Okay.
I'm Delaney Wagner. This will be an FFA officer team. I'm the student advisor, and I'm here to just tell y'all what the FFA has done since school has started. And we have over 70 new first-year students in our showing group in our program. That's a lot of kids. That's a whole lot of kids. We had our introductory meeting on August 28th at the high school cafeteria. We had a full cafeteria and with a great turnout. The food was provided by Fresh Country. Those are our fundraiser packets that we're selling. We're having fundraisers, and they always have Fresh Country support that. We had hot dog days at Outlets in Kilgore on Saturday, September 8th. The organization, I didn't type this out. We raised about $640. Exhibitors have participated in Gilmer, White Oak, Henderson, and Glendale shows, bringing home several first place and second place ribbons and making it in the top 5 in showmanship. And we are also making a float for the upcoming homecoming parade. All the FFA classes. I'll go with that.
Good deal. Thank you. We are having a homecoming parade
This Wednesday?
Wednesday, pending weather.
Like the 2 days.
Yes. And it'll go around right here and then end up back at the high school football field for a big pep rally. So if you are interested, walk out your front door, you'll probably go and see it. All right. Information items number 5A.
Okay, accounts payable is A. I had no questions regarding that prior to the meeting. If there's anything now, we certainly can address that. The next thing is enrollment numbers. You have a sheet at your place, and those numbers are just comparing the first 10 days of school this year compared to the first 10 days of last year. So if you look on day 10 of this school year, we were at 1475, and enrollment last year on the same day is 1459. So there's an increase of about 16 kiddos at that point. So the numbers from year to year will, continue to increase for us, which is a good thing. But that just kind of tells you a little bit about our numbers from year to year and how they vary from the very first day of school to day 10. Because day 1 we had 1454, and then by day 10 we have 1475. So. Anyway, as you know, that does translate into funding. So just to give you an update, on that enrollment, this student enrollment for this year.
Not just funding, but it affects our letter score.
It does, it does.
You'll learn that when you take your 15, 16.
And also, on 5C, just a reminder about the conference, the upcoming conference. All of you should have your packets at your place. All of you that are going to be going has your packets and the information regarding the conference. And all of you are signed up for the so-called field trip that they have on Saturday morning. So, and it gives instructions in there regarding that field trip and all. So everything should be taken care of when you check in the hotel. So if not, call Tony. So,
Mr. Vice, if I can back up just a little bit
Yes.
to the enrollment numbers.
Yes.
As I was looking at this, first grade this year was at, what's the other way? No, first grade, 20, never mind. I went down. Okay, I thought, I was
okay, yeah.
I was thinking, are we gonna have to hire another teacher? I mean, that's where I was going.
Right,
No.
So if you do have any questions about the convention, be sure and ask before we take off, because that's coming up pretty soon. One thing that's not on here, that on the information items, like Tony was talking about, is our homecoming parade Wednesday afternoon. Starting time on that is 6:30, is that correct?
6.
I think it's 6.
I think it's 6, Pepperoni 6:30.
Okay. So if you're available, I hope you'll be there for that. And then the Sabine ISD Educational Foundation event is October the 13th. If you do not have tickets yet, tickets are on sale. Be sure and check with Misty G about that. That's going to be a very nice event. We expect a very, very good crowd there. So expect good things. You get to go this year, don't you? Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. But yes, if at all possible, please try to be there. That's raises money to put into scholarships for our teachers that go into the classrooms. Okay. Anything
And
else?
caterer, offer some goodie.
Indeed, indeed. Will be lots of good food.
There. So next item is our consent items, number 6, 6A. I'm sorry. We typically approve all of these as a group unless somebody has something they want to pull out. We will approve the consent items, A, B, and C. Anything, anybody? Okay, can I get a motion to approve all the consent items? Dr. Borchat, get a second from Patty. Any discussion? All in favor? No opposed. Then discussion items.
Okay, the first item of discussion is regarding the security update. The security company they've been at work, quite a while now, and have done a great job for us. They will be back here Wednesday to try to wrap things up, and then it should be complete. It's completed at the middle school and high school. We have one camera to move, and then they had to order parts for the SSA building to complete it. So they should be wrapping that up this week. So far it's gone extremely smooth, and we anticipate this being a big boost for our campuses as far as security is concerned.
Without giving away too much information, it is a significant upgrade in the number of cameras. It's a significant upgrade in the ability to see what's on the camera. Whereas before you could see there was a car, now I can read the license plates on the car. Where before you could see there was a kid, now I can tell you what logo's on the shirt. And so we have about 75-ish cameras scattered all over between here and the bus barn and everywhere. And they're all over one great big screen. You can touch any button on the screen and it pops up full 40-inch TV size. And you can zoom in, just like on this, you can zoom in as tight as you want to and see what's going on. It is impressive. So that with all the door locks and you know, entry areas that we've secured and all that, it is money well spent, so.
You know, and going back history-wise, when we first, Stacy came to us with a proposal, it was that Wednesday following the Monday meeting with the Parkland shooting occurred.
Yes, it was.
So it made it was very pressing.
And the access control that Tony was talking about is going to be, that's going to help us tremendously with all
If
the
you,
doors that
when you came in here, you could see what it was. They could, when you hit the doorbell, pops up on their computer screen, if they can see that monitor, and then they can choose to buzz you in or not. On every entry door that'll be able to access. Everything else is locked, you just don't get in. And if the door is left open, we know about it.
Now, there will be growing pains with it for sure, because,
People that walk in, you know, unencumbered for so many years.
It will take a little bit to get used to.
Well, let me in.
Yeah.
What do you mean I don't have access?
I think we should, right, I mean, maybe you draft a letter to the board, sign it to the company. I mean, they had some pretty extreme circumstances trying to get that system in with their personal.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. They would appreciate that. I've also sent them a letter regarding their crew that they've had here working. Those guys sometimes will not leave until midnight, you know.
Trying to get it done.
Yeah, and it's just been really, really good experience working with them. That's a good idea. We can certainly do that.
And they'll probably be at TASB, they are in the past, if you want to walk by their booth and just shake a hand and say hi or whatever, but.
Just, I mean, you remember, you know, he lost his wife, that first, process, so that was bad.
Yeah, from the time we met to go over the negotiating of the contract, to the time we signed the contract, his wife died.
So, all things considered, they're better than most contractors.
Yes. I
With those circumstances.
Totally agree.
There's nothing to.
No
Yeah,
action.
no action needed.
Any questions or comments or anything about the security system update? Okay, the next thing is the softball field update. That contract is completed now. Visited with them again today, and they are ready to put some feet on the ground and make things move over there. If it'll stop raining.
Yeah,
That's typical.
we could have ended the burn ban a month ago, all we had to do was sign the contract for construction.
Hay would be cheaper.
So we're still sticking to our January 18 date that we had talked about earlier on this, about getting on the field of practice. So that's what we're sticking with. So I look forward to that.
When do games actually kick off? Do you have any idea? Do you know, David?
I don't know the first date.
February,
It
March.
should, well, the first scrimmage should be 3 weeks after the first practice, so something like that. So
Do you know?
It'll be right there first week in February.
First week of February. So if we got the keys by 1st of February, we should be okay. Sir?
I'll tell the kid.
You can't give them a waste, no.
January 18th.
Now, I mean, y'all have copies of the contract, but a reminder on that, we have the field January 18, and we have the concession at a little later time, which is okay.
That's okay.
But anyway, they feel confident they can get that done, so. Okay. Anything other on the softball field? All right.
Let's go ahead and skip C for now, new D.
Yes.
Okay. D is the Senate Bill 1566 training, which covers student accountability, school accountability, student success, all those items. The mandatory training, it was discussed at the last board meeting to go ahead and do that training with a presenter coming in to do that training at a later date, after board elections over and all that, election day. That way, in doing it that way, you can get the credit for the Senate Bill 1566 training, and you can get the hours credit for the team building training, all at one time. I know that Tony and Dr. Morchat have already completed the training, but, you know, that was something, I know Tony the other day said he certainly didn't mind doing that training again and having account for team building. Dr. Morchat, I visited with him today about that, and he was good with that. Anybody have anything different, anything?
I'm gonna be mad if y'all do that without me. I think we need to do it now.
But I did visit with the trainers on that. The night of our December board, regularly scheduled December board meeting, they are available to do it on that date. And I figured all of you had that date set aside already, if that's what y'all would like to do. Have the training, it's a.
Is there anybody that's opposed? This includes y'all two out there, just heads up.
You don't get a vote.
You don't get to vote. Just put it on your calendar and show up.
This would be December 10th, right?
It is December 10th.
We just thought it, dual purpose, save the district some funds. That's what we were thinking, so.
Everybody's cool with that?
Anybody not
Anybody
good
opposed?
with December 10th?
It doesn't require a
Same
vote,
time?
it just,
Same time?
yeah, same back channel, same.
6:30?
And what I will do is.
Oh, do we need to start earlier to get done?
I was
I
gonna
was
say,
supposed to say, I think
we
we
can
need to start
establish a
earlier.
time,
This is a
which
3-hour deal.
can be 5:30, 6 o'clock, whichever time you all would rather. But it is about 3 hours long.
5.
That's,
Can y'all be here?
I'm here, so that's.
Stacy got nowhere else to be.
What about Thursday, Mayor? Can you be here at 5? Some people have
Usually
jobs.
they get out of there. It just depends,
At 5:30?
So,
I know you need it.
5:30, same for you.
And let me check.
Okay.
Well, we'll plan on that date, we'll plan on starting early, but as early as we can get going, the better, because I know, and Dr. Morchak backed me up, it's gonna generate questions when we start going through it. It's gonna create conversations that will make it even longer than what I thought it took me to do it by myself with nobody to talk to. So when they start bringing up topics, you're gonna have questions, and you're gonna create conversations, which is a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just, it will, it is gonna make it take longer. So, that's why as early as we get going, the better off we're gonna be.
Okay, we'll look at December the 10th at 5:30 this time. If you get back with us and say you can go, you can be here a little earlier, then that's what I'll let everybody know. That would be good. Okay.
All right, so we want to come back around to 7C and hit that. As you all know, last month, or whatever it was, several weeks ago, we went ahead and did our superintendent evaluation, and that is based on the superintendent goals that we set up a year ago. Now that we've evaluated them on those goals, we get to go through and make new goals based on the, I don't suppose you have one of your documents, the tool that we evaluate you with.
Oh, I'm gonna say, I have the goals on
You have it
my
with-
iPad, but not the document.
Will you get me one of those documents for me? So get me 6 of those documents for me. That document, the way it's set up, is to give us the ability to say, this is what we have as a district goal of what we want to accomplish, and here is the superintendent goal that relates to that. So if as a district goal, the goal may be we want to hit 98% attendance. So the superintendent's goal would be work with the principals in such a way to cause us to have a higher rate of attendance. If a district goal is we want to have B, SMART goals. You can't go from C to A, but we can go from C to B within the next 2 years or whatever that goal is. But you have to put it with something that's attainable, something that's measurable, something that's within a timely manner. That's, y'all know what SMART goals are. So go through, have what we consider our district goals, and then relate a superintendent goal with that to say, these are the things that Stacy's responsible for, so that a year from now, when we evaluate him, this is what we're gonna hold him accountable to, what we said a year ago, which is why I wanted y'all to be in the room to have these, because you're gonna be part of that holding him accountable. And quarterly, we'll go through and say, okay, where are we at? If one of the goals is to get us a softball field, which you probably will, quarterly, for the next couple of quarters, we're gonna be saying, where are we? You know, what's the status, where are we at? If a goal is going to be, again, it can be back to the STAR test, it can be related to attendance, it can be related to, we won state championship in UIL last year, we want to do that again. You know, but that's kind of our job, is to come up with what district goals and then relate superintendent goals, and then put that on a document that we quarterly go over and say, okay, where are we? Everybody on board know what's going on?
I do just have a question on this.
Yes.
So, for one of the tenets of my professional life has always been to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open my mouth and remove all doubt. In a discussion of goals, there's going to be a discussion, and it may not be pretty. Is this something we want to do in open forum?
Can't do it in closed session.
Okay. I decided was not, yeah. All right, I'm good with that.
And it's not that we're going to vote, it is a discussion.
Okay. I've got some thoughts
Yeah,
here.
and that's the thing, it is a discussion that can be postponed and to finalize next month. We can have a special meeting in 2 weeks if we want to, but tonight is just a discussion to help establish the goals and what we want to put down that we're responsible for the next 12 months. My thought is, well, you know, like any brainstorming, let's throw everything out there. We may come up with 3 dozen goals and whittle that down to a half dozen that we can work with. May not everything make the list, but there's not a reason why you can't go ahead and bring it up. So what I'm hoping, if our secretary will just keep notes, somebody comes up with a goal that you want to be on the list, again, we'll make a list. Just know that we're not gonna have 3 dozen goals. That's not a thing. But whatever 6, 7, 8 things that he can do over the next 12 months to help better the district is what we're kind of looking for. Everybody cool with that? All right. So, are you good with that? As secretary, you'll take that with them? Not really. That's crazy. So, Dr. Morchak, you said you had several that you want to talk about?
I do.
Should we wait for Stacy to come back?
Oh,
He makes it out. Looks more short.
Short city task.
we'll let him come back.
I apologize for that, guys.
Most of my goals were related to, I, as you, did take the SB whatever 66 training, and as part of that, you had to print out, and there was exercises.
Yes, there are.
State academic performance report, which is basically all of the results of tests, grade level, mastery, almost mastered, you need improvement, broken down by subgroups, African American, Asian. I didn't realize we had an Asian. He scored 100 on that. 100. Good for him.
Yeah, as long as we are, you can figure out, okay, that's him, maybe that is.
But so based on some of that data is where my goals, or at least some of them. One of them was in many of these tests, and we've seen these test results before where they compare, here's your district, here's Region 7, and here's the state. In most of the reports, we outperform region and state. In some subgroups at certain subjects and certain grade levels, we did not match a region and did not match state. So in my mind, one of the goals I would like to put out there is that we strive to at least, at a minimum, match District 7 results across the board.
Region 7.
Region 7.
To be the top.
To at least be equal to or above Region 7, and I would even maybe expand that to state. But at least, you know, and me, you know, your neighbors, you got to be able to beat your neighbors. and I hope we can. I think we do most of the time. Apparently, in a few subgroups, we don't. And I know we're working on it.
Okay. So your goal that you want is to beat Region 7 in all categories?
Across the board,
Across the board.
on the state accountability report.
At least match.
Yeah.
Equal or greater than?
Equal or greater than.
Just simple. Yeah.
Tony, I'm kind of, that was one of my thoughts too, running around, running more chat. I was wanting to see us, I'm not sure exactly how we should measure that, so certainly probably have a better understanding of the numbers. But, I mean, my thought was to go up at least one grade point, I guess, in every single area, But I know we still need to dig into those numbers ourselves as a district and evaluate a plan, because that was something y'all were gonna do anyway.
Yeah, and that's something y'all will do in the training too.
Right.
It'll show you a whole lot. But though it's the goal to do that, to be higher in the scores in comparing to the state average and comparing to the Region 7 average, yes, that's, I think
Now,
that's
on the better score, they take 40 districts across the state that are the same socioeconomic, that are the same ADA, that are the same cookie cutter. Here's 40 schools that look just like you, on purpose. I mean, that's the role, that's what they're trying to accomplish. So, in every aspect, they should look just like us. In the end, they say, how did you compare to schools that look just like you? And so if you did better in schools there, then you really did something, because you weren't compared to Longview ISD, and you weren't compared to, East Texas Charter either. You were being compared to schools that look just like you. So it is a little different than when you see it ranked against, here's Region 7, here's a state, and here's Sabine, as opposed to here's 40 schools that look just like you, and here's how you compare. So there is two different lists to compare to, I think.
I guess my mindset that we should just try to at least improve some percentage
Right.
better than what we did before. But then I also go back, because I've visited with several people about it, still as a district, I think we all think as a whole that we don't want our teachers teaching to the test.
Right.
But then I also want to see some kind of measure or some accountability. So somewhere in there is a balance, and try to find that where we accomplish both. Because I know we had students that have graduated from here that may not have performed extremely well on standardized tests, but have gone on to be very successful at major universities and in their careers. And so there's something to be said for being well-rounded also.
Right.
So,
And you're alluding to something that's really important. I think, and forgive me for being still new, but we get this report from the state that gives us a failing grade. When we look at things that we're doing right and we do a good job of documenting those, we can fall back on those with our community. And I think it's something that we need to communicate with our communities, that we do a very good job with our kiddos here. And I don't think we do a poor job, I just think we can do that. And something like we're talking about here, if we can capture that and document it and promote it,
Right.
then
Get
it
it
kind of
processed.
helps offset
Yeah.
those standardized judgments handed down by the state.
Shelley, what is it called when you get, and I'm having to remember something that I was real quick went over, but you have to have so many of these, and if you get 4 of 7, then you automatically, you get
Indicators.
a what?
Distinctions.
Indicators, what did you say?
Distinctions.
Distinctions.
Well, the distinction is what the indicators get.
Right, okay. So there are different categories that you have to have so many distinctions. And if you get 4 distinctions in this category, then you get a this kind of thing. Some of the things that we didn't get enough distinctions were because we have, literally like this, you have 1,400 kids, or in the high school, you have 450 kids in the high school. Another 450 kids, and you have 180 days of school, so you have so many 1,500 days of school available to you. And out of the 40 schools that you're compared to get the distinction, you have to have 94%, and you had 92. Because 92, that 2 extra percent means you need 120 more kids to show up to school last year, and you would have got that distinction, which would have caused you to get this letter. That kind of, and that didn't come from 1566, that came from a whole other conversation, but those are the kind of things that they are having to look at to see, why did we not get those distinctions? Okay, because we needed 12 more kids to do this, And if we'd had 12 more kids do that, we'd have got that distinction, would cause us to get a B instead of a C here. And so,
If our parents know, little Johnny needs to be at school in order for our school grade to go up when Mama just chose not to get out of bed that
Didn't
day
feel
and bring
good
him
that
to
day,
school, you do
Well,
have problems like that.
part of each one of those.
so there are distinctions, and some of them have as many as 7 or 8 different distinctions.
I read that also.
You don't talk about them. And so those are the kind of things that we can build goals around of accomplishing more distinctions, but as a group, we actually need a better understanding of maybe what those things might be, that we can say, as a district, we want this goal in place to be able to earn these distinctions. And then Stacy, your goal is to cause that to happen, just whatever, how you can make that happen. Whether it be work with your curriculum director, work with, your principals or whoever that is. But we as a group have to figure out if that's a goal that we want to set and then build the superintendent goal around it.
It all goes back to, before we said we wanted to be a district that met standards. So, in general, without digging completely into the in-depth of it, we want to improve on our schools.
Right.
And how we want to verbalize that in written form and put it together, we probably need to work on that. So we probably need some input from you guys on how we should say that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're going to have more info to make an intelligent decision, and we don't have that info readily available because it's not something, this didn't happen, we didn't have this a year ago. This is a new thing.
You're looking at things like the distinctions and designations as far as your variables that you have some control over and your variables that you don't, like attendance rate.
Right.
You have to think of some creative ways of trying to promote and campaign,
Right.
Because like at the elementary, we have no control.
They're not driving themselves, they're not even getting themselves out of bed most of the time.
Parents, and you've got to really make them educate those parents on how important it is for those kids to be there, so.
How do you do that? Because those parents are sometimes not the parents that are involved to begin with anyway.
Right.
So how do you?
It's a hard thing to do.
Well, that's my point. There are some distinctions that we can create as goals that we do have some influence over, and maybe some things that we can set up that we can get creative and develop a plan for. Yes, sir. Go ahead, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, it's along this whole same argument, because as you all know, just for this year, they went from recognized, whatever, to A, B, C, D, F.
Right.
That was like the big deal, and we got a C.
Overall was a C.
Overall, a C. So, although that C is made up of a bunch of little things, rather than get into the weeds of the little things, I would suggest the board simply make a goal of, the goal is to get at least a B.
So that's the way
One
you
step up. How you get there, that's your problem.
That's the way to approach it, because you can beat it to death, because you're not even talking about the quartiles yet.
Exactly,
And you get into the
it is so convoluted.
Yeah.
It does spiral it out, I mean, everything touches everything.
And if you don't, on the evaluation in a year, you simply explain, here's why the state's crazy. But I mean, if you explain it to us, that's fine.
Well, and that's just it. We could write a goal as simple as we want to improve from a C to a B over the next 12 months, to the next grading period.
That's what I'm
And then it's your responsibility to figure out where and how and what to do to cause that to happen. Your goal is to get a B. Now, that's harder for him. If we had smaller, if we had smaller, help make attendance better, well, if he has one thing to focus on. When you say make a B, there's 84 things he can focus on to cause that to happen.
Well, I would say that we reword that and say, at a minimum, increase one letter.
Well, but C to B is it. I mean, specific.
We could get an A. We could
The
get
word
an
should
A.
say, we're striving for an A. Our goal is really for an A, but say at a minimum, increase one letter.
Yeah, because like we
I
always
like
say.
that. That's right. Push the envelope.
And that was what I was originally
Where
going
we
to
always
say.
say.
to begin with.
Do we give C
Where
plus?
did you say?
And that's one of the
For the
conversations.
record, as long as I've known Ms. Bass, she has strived to get all kids to come to school every day. And they have, that has been a goal at the elementary since day one. And all school districts, I'll even step on out there and say all school districts.
Yeah, you can go in the hallways
Because
and
it
see their
affects more
attendance charts
than just.
in all campuses.
Well, the conversation that's on the training is based on the SMART goals. Literally, they took our charts and our graphs and said, here's what your SMART goals should look like. If you have something specific is I want to go from a C to a B, or I want to improve at least one letter grade. And you have to have something measurable. That is completely measurable, because we're going to get a report card whether we like it or not. It's something attainable. Going from a C to an A may not be as attainable as we'd like it to be.
We could say.
Well, we could say,
I know.
we want to at least stay the same
I think,
with improvement. Because we've stayed in here, maintain Met standard.
Yeah.
So we can say maintain it,
But we don't want to maintain.
but I like it because I'm just,
I don't want to set a goal
I
of,
don't like the A through F
well, we
system.
don't,
I
but
think it's.
we don't have anything else to play with.
our initial discussions
That's what
with
we had
our
this year.
administrative leadership, we had some data discussions already, and we have really initially dug deep enough that we have some.
You've identified it.
As far as narrowing our focus on what we need to do on close the gaps, that domain. We
Mhm.
know what we need to do. There's some things, in the other categories as well, as far as making progress and we've got to teach the masters. That's just bottom line.
Right.
We've got to teach the masters and go from left to right on that scale. So, as far as initial discussions have been concerned, we have started that process and we really know some
Did
direction.
y'all have the Region 7 training?
We had Region
Already
7
had-
training, and we've met with our principals and our other leaders in the
Okay,
campus as well.
so we can create a goal that says to at least increase by one letter grade,
At a minimum.
minimum of one letter grade.
Why don't we say this and then move on?
Okay.
Increase the state accountability rating by at least one letter grade.
There we go.
Next.
Okay, so we've established that's our goal pertaining to that area. Next, we've got one.
I still would like to continue to have a goal that we interact with our community and increase the community involvement in our school district. I think that's still an important goal. Which
Increase
brings
the
itself to all
engagement,
these
yeah.
other things that we're, it all combined right back to that.
Yeah, increase, enhance community engagement, however you want to word,
Yeah.
and the things that we're doing now obviously are working, but we need more of it.
Can we somehow become more present in our local newspaper? And I'm not talking about just the Liberty City Good News, because it only comes out, quarterly.
We see
But, I know, but we play games every week. Volleyball games, football games, it's basketball season, track, tennis. You don't see a whole lot of Sabines stuff, and we don't see a whole lot of our UIL competitions, and we've already started UIL competitions. We had one Saturday. I don't know if that's even something that we could create for our, one of our classes that is learning how to do, like
Like some kind of
reporting
journalism
stuff,
class?
yeah, like journalism class, where it's something that they get the stats from the coach. 'Cause we all know our coaches keep stats for every game, and then they put something together and put it in the Google paper.
Dr. Morchett,
Yes.
I know we're going back a few years ago. but
Well, we talked about advertising.
When we started
for the
Liberty
board.
City Good News, what was the thought process of why we needed Liberty City Good News?
Because the Kilgore and Longview newspaper at the time, there was a lot of turmoil on the board. And it seemed like the only news that Sabine ever got was negative news. If something good happened, they didn't report on it.
Nobody cared.
They reported on that coach or that whatever. And so it was a concerted effort to say, hey, there's a lot of good stuff going on that's not being published. Let's put it
Right,
out
which is
there.
still the case, and we don't get to see all the good stuff.
If it bleeds, it leads. I mean, that's what newspapers do.
Right.
It's got to be that.
So if we created a goal of, we want more acknowledgement in local press, and however you want to make that happen, whether it be through a journalism class, whether it be from taking the
I was gonna say,
newspaper.
what do you suggest we do?
Why don't you just act like you're not here? Are you free for lunch?
Yeah.
Would you like a free lunch?
But there is something to that. Now, some of it, we have absolutely.
Well, of course, we can't make
no
them
control.
bread.
Yeah,
Yeah, because there are times we can write the articles, we take the pictures and we send it, and
doesn't make it.
I've always thought it was something to do with the fact that we are right out here on the edge of the county.
Oh, we're barely
Kinda
Grant County, yeah, Smith
in
County just
no
not that
man's
that
land.
way.
I've got, if we can increase circulation in this area, and I just got, this morning when I was trying to look at my newspaper, I found out.
They're gonna charge for that, yeah.
And
Or I'm gonna have to start paying.
So, I've got 7 more of my 8 free.
now you're gonna have to start paying for
I get a
it.
paper every morning.
I get a paper.
So maybe if we increase
We do it,
circulation.
we will get you about 50 more subscribers if we can have just a little quarter every week.
That is the thing too. How many parents they might not do a subscription, but they might go buy that individual paper if they find out little Johnny's in the paper. So we can help the press and get more money.
It's just hard. It's hard on their part too. They're struggling to make a living.
Oh, yeah, I mean, digital is the way everything's going, newspaper is kind of dying on the vine. Thank you for being here. Digital schools, like the blog, video channel?
Yeah, whatever. Maybe we need to see, I haven't ever really got on. Maybe that's what.
But if you're wanting measurable goals, then I don't know how you're gonna measure this.
I don't either.
That's something we certainly want to look at and improve on, but I don't know how to
Yeah,
measure.
well, that's what I said, we're still brainstorming, we're just throwing those out there, well,
Unless we can get Brittany to send us how many times she puts us in the
yeah,
paper.
we want to.
Well, you need to figure out how to. How you do that?
That's what else.
That's your problem.
I don't mean to dominate
No,
the
I
discussion.
just, you probably got some.
And again, Paul, you know, yours was kind of what that second one was, so, and you agreed with the first one too. One of the other ones, in a review, again, and you unfortunately did not have, I had to look over all this star data stuff, and it breaks down a lot of the star data as a below grade level. In other words, you're not even meeting what the state considers, you know, let's say, I'm gonna just pick on 3rd grade, you're not even up to 3rd grade stuff.
What is the one you're almost there, I forget? It's, sorry, approaches, okay.
Approaches.
So you're below approaches is the standard, basically, you're below standard.
And then there's masters, which
Right.
means, man, you got this stuff down. I would like to see us as a goal to try to increase the number. So again, it's not, whatever the number is now, increase the number of master. Because, you know, just average is just that, it's just average. I mean, you know, if you're really gonna succeed in life, you're gonna have to master some stuff.
And that's a good goal, because that one is easily measurable. And it comes out, you know, you increase the percentage of students that reach mastery, is what it would be.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Right there.
Okay. Patty, do you have any, you had? No, not really.
Of students what? Increase the percentage of students
Achieve mastery?
That achieve mastery.
that achieve mastery.
Did you have some that you want to discuss?
Well, y'all are basing everything on a test and
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's one
Really
thing.
not.
I know, that's why I want you to talk.
interested in a test
And
as
that's what
everybody
you
else
got.
is. I'm still in with the same one we've had. I still want to see more vertical alignment across the campuses. And I'm not meaning like, I'd like to see more of our continue. We did increase that this year. I'd just like to still, because I think that will even help just in the long run with the mastery and all that, the vertical alignment, you know, from like the 5th grade going over to 6th grade, 8th grade, moving into high school, and those teachers all collaborating, which we did do that this year. I just would like to see that continued, because I think that if you've got a collaboration across from elementary to middle school to high school, then you're going to constantly be seeing better and better scores, because your 8th grade science teacher can get with your 5th grade science teacher and the in-betweens to try to figure out why are we and I don't know if our scores are low or not, I hadn't looked at scores, but, you know, they can collaborate on that science test one, because that's the one test that we don't take, every year, you know,
3 times. Test questions.
and that's still a test, but I'm saying, I just like to see the campuses work.
Well, you know,
Continue
it's,
to work harder
and in
on
that
that.
capacity, what I found out, our 4th grade scores, and I can't remember which subject it was now, but the 4th grade scores were low, the 5th grade scores were high, and the 6th grade scores were low again.
Well, sometimes you
And I
gotta
think-
look at a class.
Well, no, it wasn't the class, just the point. It went, these kids scored 80%, these kids scored 90%, these kids scored 90%, and these kids scored 80% again. What was happening in 5th grade? You know what it was? They get to take the test 3 times, and it's required to pass 5th grade. It's not in 4th and 6th, and you don't get to take the test multiple times. So of course the scores are higher, because they took the test 3 times.
Sure.
Those are the little bitty details that they have to know that we don't. But when you're looking at those numbers, it matters that they take the test 3 times and it counts, as opposed to the 4th and 6th when it doesn't.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Not the third time.
Third time.
Yes.
Third time doesn't.
Third time doesn't.
No, it's not third.
Now, in looking at, and I get what you're saying on, but let's look at this. Breaking down everything, if we're just talking about scores now, which I'm like you, I don't care for that. But, if we're saying increase the state accountability rating by at least 1 letter grade, I would see that increased vertical alignment would be a part of that. You
That's all
know,
I'm saying.
because in looking at this data, all of these people out here can assure you that vertical alignment is not the first concern that needs to be addressed. You see what I'm saying? But that's in there.
I do have one. This is not about test scores. Okay, I would like to see the continuation of the maintenance of all our
Yeah,
schools
that's what my,
that we have seen over the last several years. I believe a lot has been accomplished, and I would hope that would continue.
you know, one of the things that I had earmarked was,
So that's it.
without, you know, I don't want to come down on Ken or anybody in that group, but at the same time, really,
We need to have better improvement in maintenance of our.
well, the maintenance
I think
needs
that's
to
all I can
be
say.
a focus, is the best way I can put it. And it shouldn't have to be brought to their attention
Yeah.
or be on the list for 3 months before it gets addressed. So however you want to word that goal in such a way that makes it a smart goal.
Improving maintenance.
Yeah, but it has to be measurable in such a way that we can use it to evaluate Stacy a year from now. Better maintenance ain't gonna fly.
Well, could it be measured by like, okay, because sometimes I'm on campus, so I hear certain things.
The list of number of complaints.
I put that into the maintenance department 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So that's a way you can measure it, like how quickly is maintenance?
you have a way
Doing
that you
the
measure your
tickets that they
guys.
get or
We don't know what that is, but you obviously do. We need a way to measure you the way you measure them in such a way that we can make that into a goal. Not sure how to do that right now, but that's what we're looking for. We want maintenance to be on the list because we want it to be focused on.
Right.
If we ever have to go back into that building and put kids in that building over there with the gym and the cafeteria, is it gonna be still in a condition that that's possible, or are we gonna have to start from scratch? Because if it's not maintained for the next 10 years, it's
So
gonna,
that's, yeah, you won't go in there right now, no doubt about it.
Right.
No doubt about it.
but with lack of maintenance for the next 10 years, we won't either.
Yeah, you'd be tearing it down.
Right, which is what we were trying to avoid in the first place. And so, maintenance on the new elementary, obviously, and doing the kind of things that cause it to look like a new elementary. You know, it's kind of like when we talked about, you know, sealing the concrete. Seal the concrete. Make it look new for as long as you can. Same concept on the new elementary. We want it to still look new for 5 years. We don't want it to look like it's a 5-year-old school.
Can I just ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Is Would it be helpful if we had more maintenance personnel? Is that where our problem is? Do we
Well,
not
number
have
one,
enough?
You know, I don't see it, I think this past year, there's been a lot of improvement on maintenance.
Yeah, I do.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Oh, it's improved dramatically.
Yeah. To answer that, certainly. You know, if we had 20 maintenance guys instead of
5 per campus.
No, you're right. Numbers would help, but skills help also. And those skills, the skilled ones, of course, you're going to pay more for, but, you know, it's.
Well, you know, that 1566 training facilities is one of the ones that it says it focuses that a well-maintained facility will help with the educational
Oh, yeah.
process.
And, you know, while it would cost more, it might really pay off in the end. So,
Well, and it may be specific skills that we don't have that we could,
add to.
Yeah, because some of the items that take longer than others to get addressed are because we're waiting on a contracted person to come in to do it.
now, again, I'm not real sure how to word that, I don't measure that, but if we can in the next, whatever, figure out a way to cause that to be one of your goals, that's something the board wants to see focused on anyway.
And all of these we'll put in writing, and I'll send you over.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing, this doesn't have to be finished tonight, this is a working document.
Without disclosing too much, couldn't help but chuckle when my wife was working at the district here. Whenever she needed the maintenance to do something, she baked a little bundt cake. And then they jumped out. They jumped out.
Ms. Borchett got food, let's go.
So they might, campuses might consider
Cookies
that.
help.
I would just go grab them and say, come on, guys.
So you were at home, they knew you had food.
Well, I didn't get them food, I just told them to come on, let's get with it.
All right, what else? You got several more. That are not test related, come on.
These
Oh,
are last year's goals that I.
oh, okay, so what else you got?
Well, I mean, Paul already did one, the increased community involvement, and I still would like to work on school spirit and school pride.
And I think that's all in the same one, no?
Yeah, it was.
That's down to it, yes.
And I don't know how you measure that, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
Well,
I don't know if
that's the whole
that's
thing
a
is,
measurable
we can have a goal with sub-goals, it's like when we have them here, you have a main goal, and then you have bullets underneath that of what that means. And even though it may not be an absolute, you can't measure school pride, but you can measure how many things that was done to help increase school pride. Did we have more of these things happen? Did these things happen? I mean, obviously, some things just creating things that we don't have yet. Feel like when we created a newsletter, we didn't used to have the newsletter. That was one of the things that he established when we told him a long time ago, we want to increase community awareness. We created a newsletter. We're having a homecoming parade. We had a homecoming parade last year.
Well, we got that worded out here, evidence of methods of community and business
Right, it's in
involvement
there.
schools, it's in there.
But it's one of the other goals because it's something that we've been working on that I don't think you can have enough community engagement, so I don't think it'll ever come off. But increasing the community engagement is something we've been trying to do to build school spirit and school pride and the whole bit. That's just something we're all
I
trying
will
to do.
say as a parent, I have seen the increased use of technology even with parents.
Mhm.
Because I've had to do a lot of technology with my kids' classes this year. But I think that's an ongoing goal that always needs to stay with us because we know technology is going to always change.
You can't sit down and wait for it, it's coming.
So it's to me a continuing thing.
Another one that I thought about, y'all know about starting the fire academy that we have, and we've started some other classes that are unique. My son's in an advertising class. There's some things that we haven't had in years past. Is there a way that we can create a goal that says to continue to find and promote innovative type learning classes that are not necessarily math, English, science, social studies? And some of them are science. Obviously, some of the things that we don't consider a science class still count. What is that? What's the ag class? That's floral design. That's a science class. So there's those kind of things that we've come up with in the last year that are impressive that we have classes like that. The fact that we have kids going through a fire academy over here to high school is cool.
And so those are classes that they can go in and be something different than sitting in a math class or an English class. They're still getting some science out of it, they just don't know it. So my son's in a math class that teaches them how to figure out a mortgage and how to get a loan on a car and how to figure out interest and how, it's a math applications class.
Okay, here's a thing. I had that when I was in school. When I was new. I think we've gotten so caught up in higher math. that
Well,
we
that's
forgot we
that.
need
My son
everything.
will never do calculus. He wants to be in theater. He says, I don't have to know how to do it. I just have, people think I know how to do it. So you don't necessarily need calculus. But he can use this how to do a mortgage.
I know, but I'm just saying, I feel like that wasn't always a general thing when I was in school.
We had that when we were in school too, man, taking that opportunity, but.
It's not necessarily innovative.
We're just bringing it back.
But the kids are getting more out of that than they would in the pre-cal class. 90% of the kids here will never use calculus. It's just,
It's all about
Except
being
for
a
their
well-rounded.
topics, guys.
oh, I can be well-rounded, but I don't use calculus. I use algebra every day, but I don't use calculus.
So continue to create new and innovative classes, is that what we came up with?
Yeah. And kudos on that, y'all did a great job.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very pleased. I was very impressed when I saw what was available. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. Coach Sean did that, last thing we did, right? Yes, sir.
Didn't mean, again, another one that came to mind was, I was very proud that this district had such great participation and results in academic UIL events. You could say UIL events, but I'm specifically thinking of academic UIL events, so a goal would be to increase participation. You can't guarantee that you're going to win state again,
Right.
but if we at least have more kids participating.
What the
Chances
kids
are
are too,
you
is
might.
like anything. If football team's winning, more kids will play
It
football.
would be nice to get
So-
some more recognition for that as well.
Yeah.
Because our kiddos, newspaper, our kids won the state UIL championship last year. I noticed.
Yeah, and that was the goal that
I
we
mean,
literally
football's
just,
great, basketball's
7 or 8 years
great.
ago.
I will say, that was a goal when I first.
yeah, 7 or 8 years ago, we made the goal of more kids engaged in UIL academics, which happened, which over the years has progressed into last year getting second, or 2 years ago getting second, this year
And
getting
if I could
first.
just follow up on something you just said, Andrea, I hope the community knows, and I think it's the case that we're not just starting with a fresh list of goals, we're continuing many of the existing goals. And many of those are on there, so, you know.
Yeah, we took off the building new elementary, but beyond that. we're
Right,
still-
well, if it's been accomplished, then yes, it's off the goal, but there's many that are just ongoing, and that's one of them, increased
When I
participation.
was thinking about that particular goal, I wondered as a board, if we should give you more tools, which would be resources, to staff that agenda better.
That's,
With some more, here I go, when you can't say numbers, maybe some more stipends
Like a coach stipend for helping UIL academics.
for UILs.
no, there's no doubt that would be a factor.
Because that's what I see, the next level would be try to recruit some more teachers. And so, and just like with coaches, they can't coach because of that stipend, it doesn't pay enough. Maybe we'd be better off to do a part-time job somewhere else, but at least some more incentive to bring on.
At least show appreciation. May not be enough to incent somebody to do it, but it certainly show the appreciation of
Yes,
them
because
doing
they
it.
do spend a lot of Saturdays.
Yes, and so,
Big competitions.
as a board, I don't know that we shouldn't revisit that, and you go back and look at it and say, you know what, if we were to do these things, if we talked about the director,
We could actually look at an entire plan for stipends as it relates to these
Okay.
events, because you really have to start thinking bigger than that. Because you're gonna have, they continue to increase the number of events at these things. And while it's very beneficial for the larger districts, it's tough on smaller districts,
Yeah.
because
One kid can't do 7 events.
and one thing this year is theatrical makeup, you know? That's actually a competition at the state level in UIL. It doesn't mean somebody's sitting there putting makeup on a person though. There's a whole lot more to it than that, and and there's other events like that that are new, accomplished, you know, and when you think of theater, and here you think of one act play, and that's it. In the larger schools, they can break it down and do all those things, but what I was gonna say is sometimes you're gonna have to go think outside the box of this employee pool that we have,
And maybe
and
that's
get
it.
somebody outside.
My main agenda is to get kids plugged into this school district,
Exactly,
find them a place where they fit.
Find their niche.
They come to school with a fire in their belly.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just gonna, I had a conversation with Mr. Bryce earlier today, and one of the things I brought up was the District of Innovation and the opportunities it gives us, and also the constraints. There's a lot of constraints that are placed on it, but one of the potential benefits is you can hire non-certified personnel, and that would be a perfect segue to, hey, let's get someone who knows theater
Makeup.
makeup.
Right. They may not be
They're not a teacher.
certified teacher, they can teach
But you
certified
hire them
makeup.
for, whatever, just one afternoon a week or something? I mean, I don't know, but the fact that we are a district innovation, we have that opportunity.
Yes.
So.
So when we did that, and the conversation that occurred then is that we're not gonna hire an uncertified person to teach math, English, science.
No,
and
absolutely
social
not.
studies. But to teach theater makeup, you got somebody from KC, or you got somebody from a college that does that, and they will come in one afternoon and do UIL theater makeup, so be it. But anyway, where does our business fit?
That's not our problem.
Exactly.
We just set it up.
Like, you word that however you see
Well, it
fit.
just goes back, all these things are back to the same basic.
Same basic thing.
Plugging kids in and plugging kids in.
That's it.
That's basically what you want
So we
to
can just
do.
put those two broadcasts
That's right.
on there.
If you get more kids plugged in and more parents.
Show me how many
One
you're
goal,
doing it.
one
It's
goal.
gonna be accurate.
That's it, one goal. That one.
Hey, if you get those two things right, then the rest of it falls.
Well, the rest of it works, that's just it.
That's right.
Daniel, you got any that you want to talk about?
The only thing I was gonna add would be, and I think Stacy does a really good job of this, and it's the foundation of the school after all, is recruiting and hiring and retaining good teachers and staff.
And that would come into kind of what Paul was
Yeah.
talking about too.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
Is it okay for us to engage our principals right now? I know
They're here.
they're here.
They're here.
So I know every year, Stacy, what he does on goals is, what goal do you have set for yourself? So maybe y'all could share the highlights of what goals y'all set for yourself and see how we plug that into.
Ultimately, and I can just tell you, through the conversation that we have, it's harder for us to, something that's measurable, something that's, to make something that's easy for us to look at and say, you had 3 last year, you have 4, yes, you did good, you increased by a third. That's not as easy as you would think. And so he gives y'all goals. We want to tie your goals to his goals, to the district goals, so that we're all on the same page. We have vertical alignment, you know how that is, so. What
She
is
missed it.
Yeah, she missed it. So tell us what is the type of goals that y'all are working on that we can have all the way through?
We're not out of place, right, Stacy?
No, I don't mind that at all. I'm sure they don't. They know, they've all had to sit down on the goals, so.
I'll start.
Okay.
Mainly, mine overall is to improve, and we've specified specific grade levels and subject areas to improve scores on, that were below state average. And another one of my goals is to, basically, figure out the factors of why that happened, to dig deep. And along with our training at Region 7, that Region 7 just gave us, to target more of the masters or from approaches to needs, just to step up from each one of those. And along with that is to kind of dissect into materials we're using, programs we're using, personnel, things to that nature that would actually, to oversee and look at, again, kind of the factors of why we're doing good in some areas and poor in some areas. Improve morale, overall, kind of ongoing. That's kind of mine that Stacy laid out for me, for my campus. And I know 3 specific grade levels and subject areas that we're targeting. Can we improve all around? Yes. But those are 3 that actually scored below state average, and so we're working diligently on that.
That fits into what we already talked
Yes,
about.
right.
So
It does.
we're all on the same
Right,
page.
and I just like to say that I love the emphasis on the UIL program. It's something we can really be proud of, but I am even more impressed with our personnel that strive to improve those lower performing students.
Yeah.
That's it.
When it all figures out, we learned that the more we can get masters, we get points in other areas. And if we strive just to get those kids to approach, which is pass,
Right.
but sometimes it's a 48 or a 52, which is mediocre, or just below average, but they pass. But we learned that if we could get more to those masters, then we get points in other areas. So it actually benefits us. To kind of switch our thought is to, focus on those low ones like you just said, Patty, but, also focus on those high ones and keep them moving towards that goal.
Forward.
So it's all kind of a puzzle and kind of a game that you have to.
So what are our junior high goals?
Mine are very similar to hers. Some of the goals I'm going to be set for myself would just be student achievement. Like she said, we've identified the areas that really need the attention, that we were lower on our campus. We've identified those areas, we know what they are. We've been working with those teachers already to kind of find those indicators and strategies and factors that contributed to the lower scores, and so we're working to improve those. But I would say more so than just focusing on those individual areas, I'm focused on the student achievement. What I mean by that is I don't want to neglect one group to focus on another group. I don't want to get so consumed with, let's say, my 2 lower areas that another area falters.
You don't have any masters because you were focusing on one.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of wording it as the student engagement or student achievement, meaning that I'm focusing on all of them. And that's kind of what Terry was talking about. The lady we had earlier today, her phrase was pull from the top instead of push from the bottom. So that when you pull from the top, you affect every kid. And so we're going to still continue some of the things that we implemented last year that I think started that process of pulling from the top to where we are identifying our stronger kids, to where we can challenge them and try to increase the number of kids we have at masters, but then also increase the number of kids that we're at approaches going to meets and just all the kids across the board. So student achievement is definitely something that's on our minds as we go into this year. Campus climate and morale is another goal that we have. Just continuing that process. These are goals that we started last year, but they're going to continue, and I don't know, these are the type of goals that will never come off your list. I mean, how can you ever get away from student achievement and campus climate? And so we're still doing some things to kind of get teacher buy-in and teacher, make them feel like they're appreciated. I want them to know that we care about them, that we're here for them, that they're appreciated, on a daily basis. And so we're doing some different things for campus climate and campus morale as well. I think those are my 2 big focus areas for the year probably.
But you got to high school.
Well, everything that y'all been discussing this evening are items that we've already looked at as a campus and as a district as well. The student performance, of course, is crucial. We can look at the numbers. We can see where areas where our kids do well and then where we can improve. Our UIL participation, based on what I was told in the past, has grown. But we've got those new events. We do have state championships, and that's now the bar, and we want to see more kids involved in that. And we know that there's opportunities. It's just like what you said, anytime a kid has a good hook for school, because it's not always going to be math, and we know that, the more we can get them hooked in or plugged in some way, the better off we're going to be. We did look at offering more courses for our students, because House Bill 5 gives us that kind of ability, for a kid that's not going to be a four-year college kid, but they can come out with trainings and potentially certifications that help them to go on and be successful at the next level. You mentioned school spirit. I think that's something that is important. I had a conversation after our first pep rally with a couple of students, just because of an observation. But we do more things to encourage that, whether it be recognizing them in front of the whole school or recognizing them individually. I think morale is very important. It's always very high on my list. Our teachers, our coaches that are involved, I think they have to be careful to balance all the different hats that they wear. I know that we're a bigger school than what I'm accustomed to, but at the same time, if you've got a teacher, an academic core teacher, who's also an athletic coach, who's also a UIL coach, that's a load. And so we're trying to also look at ways to branch out and use some of those others, being a school of innovation. Maybe we can get creative there and bring some people in to help our kids. But what we want is for them to see the bigger picture too, and provide a way for them to be successful in that.
I can tell you that the feedback that I heard about you speaking at the pep rally was huge. Everybody was pleased.
Yes.
Yeah, even though, who's that guy
You've been a
that
grandparent.
Who's the guy that talked? Who's that? So,
My mom.
yeah, so it was the feedback that the school spirit, that the principal got up at the pep rally and talked and recognized kids. I know that bringing soccer, now we have soccer as a UIL event, there's a whole group of kids that were not engaged, who are now engaged and have a reason to want to go to school because they get to play soccer for their school. And so doing things like that we've done, I really feel like we moved it a little bit, but we're not anywhere near where we want to be. And if we can find, 4 or 5 more UIL academic activities that we can participate in and get some more kids that get to go to the district or state or whatever level they get to go, and stuff that didn't even know it happened, it didn't exist a year ago. That's kind of a cool thing. And like you said, the various things, you don't go to UIL chess because you can win a game of chess. There's a little more to it than that. You have to know a little bit more about it. And that just broadens their horizons of what they're aware of when they compete in those UIL things. My son was at a debate, and I don't even know what it was, but they have CX and LD, and now they have Congress. He's like, there's this whole new kind of debate we get to do now. And so that's every time they get to do that, they get to learn that much more about that much more stuff to broaden their awareness.
And some of the things that they talk about, some of them are related to test scores, but we're not going to have everything related to test scores.
Of course not, we don't want that.
Exactly, and that's the good thing about myself, this board, and those administrators, we all look at it the same way. Test scores are test scores, but that's not what makes up.
The reality of it is, a C is not a bad thing. And in a state, the C it's not your preferred by any stretch of imagination, but it's not because you failed.
Right. And
Beth Sanders and Steve about C the same thing.
It was almost a B.
but
I tried to walk out, it didn't work out. It did not work.
But just like things like that y'all don't know about that happens on some of these campuses, just like today, for example. I told y'all about the kiddo that was the kindergarten youngster that was injured the first day of school, split his kidney. Had to be air flighted to Dallas and all that kind of thing. Well, today was his first day back to school. You go to the elementary school this morning at 8 o'clock, had 500 little elementary kids lined up out there to greet him. With the high school bringing over the drum line and cheerleaders and all that. And here comes mom to drop him off, at school. That's just cool stuff. That's really good stuff. So it takes a lot of things to happen to get things going like that.
Is that something that was documented, photographed, and sent to the newspaper?
I don't know, I know it was photographed.
I know they did that. I've seen videos, so I know it
There's
was.
a video online now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
Brittany has that.
has a Facebook page, so it's the
Yes, and it's on our Facebook
Yeah,
page
Kim posted,
and on
I
our.
think Kim posted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how Kim
That is awesome.
But yeah, can you imagine though, that mom pulling up with that kid, and there's all these kids out there to greet him when he comes up, welcome back to Jackson, big old signs and the whole bit. And it's kind of impressive. You know she's out there.
Maybe in the future, we should have some more of these roundtables where we actually, we've done that in the past, we've gone back to our principals and engaged them in our discussions, you know, they don't have to be the regular schedule.
We talked about working alignment while you were gone.
But back to engaging y'all, so you know that, and being able to communicate that back to your staff, that we're all on the same page and we're all trying to find a way to reach these goals that we set for Stacy.
I agree with that. I mean, I enjoyed listening to each one of them and hearing what they have to say and their take on their goals. I mean, and that keeps us from getting think. I'm sure it exists, but thank you guys for sharing.
Yes.
Okay, so is there anybody that has something that they would like to share as another goal that we need to look at but on the list? Something that's besides the two main ones, engage kids and engage parents and call it good.
Okay. I guess it's back to what we always say, that's what Stacy was just out. What goals did you want to set for yourself? Because that is important.
Yeah.
That's what he does for them.
Anything we haven't talked about you'd like to share?
Well, you know, number one, as much as I talk about, you know, test scores are not the main thing here. The other side to that is I despise looking mediocre. I despise that, you know?
Me too.
Because that's just not who we are. So that's a deal to where during our goal setting, we've already discussed all that and that kind of thing. But that is a big thing for us because we don't like that. Even though we're not going to put all our eggs in that basket, but that's going to get better for us, you know, because our teachers, our entire staff is better than that, better than what TEA threw out there. And
Yeah, if you get to Benjamin Franklin, here's all the good stuff, and there's a C. We still have a whole lot of good stuff to offset that.
and the other, you know, another thing is, of course, you want to always engage the staff more in different student activities than what you did before, you know. And that's a big thing too, because if the kids see that happening, they get more excited about it. So that's, you know, definitely something that needs to happen. And then when you get to, again, like Mr. Pepper said, you know, the bar is there on the UIL academics, so we're going to try to cross that bar again. But I do think we've got targets on us now, and we're going to have to do more than we did last year because those people are not far behind us. You know?
Yeah, people are gunning for you when you're number one.
And I will say this, it starts, you know, last year, I hope y'all remember, the huge margin that the middle school group won the UIL Academic Fund, you know? And then we've got to get that going better at the elementary campus as far as numbers and points and things like that, because it gets them involved at that level.
So out of our 6 different districts that we have for baseball, football, basketball, and football, where's the UIL district? What is it?
The UIL district is the same as your spring sport, you know, basketball, it's basketball, volleyball, even, you know, that kind of thing.
That's our district, okay. Because I mean, we have, depending on which activity we're talking about, we have, and then soccer's a whole other district.
Yeah, and this year, the high school academic host will be White Oak, and we will be the host next year in year 2 in this district.
Okay.
Let me tell y'all a fun UIL story. Everybody knows that my daughter teaches at West Rusk, and she came home right at one of the first days of school laughing. She said, well, the principal was encouraging us to increase our UIL participation. And he said to the group, he said, now, I don't expect y'all to show out like Sabine does. I don't expect you to go that high, but let's do a little better.
Get a little closer. Let's earn some points, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, so if we can document, put these in goal form in such a way that we can polish them up and get them on paper, we can revisit this in a month and approve superintendent goals. Everybody's cool with that?
Thank everybody for coming and staying late.
Yeah. No, we're still with that.
Right, well,
Compared to some of our
It's
meetings.
like Pip goes to work.
Yeah. Did y'all hear that? We are going to polish these up, get them on paper, and then next month we'll approve the list of goals for the superintendent for the next 12 months based on these recommendations. So, if there's any more discussion about that, we can move on to action items. Budget amendment, number 7A, or 8A.
8A, Mr. Yandel, will you take the budget amendment?
Thank you. We have, two different funds that the budget amendment's going to affect, the general fund and the debt service fund. The general fund, it's only impacting the expenditure side of the budget. If you remember from our meeting that we had on August the 30th, our property and casualty insurance premiums increased from last year to this year. As a result, I need to increase the budget in that area. The cost of the softball field, as we know it right now, needs to be input into the budget, and that is $1,339,000. And then between the time that the board approved budget number one related to the security issues, we determined we needed to add the SSA building to that. So in order to do that, we need to increase the budget in that area by a little under $3,500. All of those combined impact our fund balance by $1,350,864.
Just for clarification, the other two schools are chipping in part of the cost of SSA building.
We're each chipping in 1/6 of the cost is what basically we're taking 2/3 as a district, and then 1/3 is going to be split by the SSA. So that's the budget amendment for the general fund. The budget amendment for the debt service fund is just related to the increase in the tax revenue that we amended the general fund budget for in September. Because of the increase in the levy base, we'll have $134,000 more in tax revenue in the debt service fund.
It's much better than last year, too.
So that'll help us begin to get our fund balance to a point to where on neither the August payment nor the February payment will I have to temporarily borrow money from the general fund and then pay it back. We're already to the point where I made the August payment without having to do it, so I'm hoping this year or next year to be in good shape by the February meeting. February payment, which includes both interest and principal, and that's when it's due.
All right, so we get a recommendation?
Recommend we approve these.
Then you make a motion.
You make a motion.
He makes a recommendation for
Whatever he recommends, much you
whatever Kevin just said.
The board approved budget amendment number 2, including the general fund and the debt service.
So Danny makes a motion on what Kevin just said, of recommending.
I'll second it for you.
Yeah. Like that, what he said.
Hey, did you write that down?
Mark, you written it down?
Mr. Mandel,
Aye.
is this the final tax levy base? I mean, they're not going to come back again and be messed up? Or
The only thing that will occur between now and the end of the year are going to be normal adjustments that they have during the year. We've already gotten to the certified tax base situation. There'll be small adjustments, increases and decreases throughout the year that you see every year.
Okay, so we got a recommendation and a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right. B.
Okay, 8B is, as you know, anytime we have building projects, we are required to take action in, well, determining a prevailing wage rate for the project to be built. Since we are not in a Dallas city limits or Longview or anything like that, what is done is each county has a prevailing wage rate that is developed by the state, and so that is what we certainly go by on all of our projects that we build out here. So basically what the board, you have the wage rate that I put in the packet. The board will need to take action on approving the resolution for the prevailing wage rate determination for the softball complex.
Okay, so your recommendation?
My recommendation is to approve the resolution for the prevailing wage statement for the softball complex.
Okay, the motion. Paul, second. Patty, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. 6-0. C.
Okay, C is, this is a new one for me and for any of y'all in here. Unless Dr. Morchat was around during that time on the board, I don't know. But we have a school board election in May. We have 3 candidates signed up for 3 different seats. And,
Did you say May?
did I say May?
Can't be right.
I'm not running again, so I'm not gonna play in the
Hey,
May one.
hey, you see how excited we are about
Yeah, I'm not running in May.
Let's look at November.
Okay.
November. But the 3 candidates have no opposition that's signed up. We do have a declaration saying that, signed by the secretary of this board that determines and verifies that. So basically with that, we worked with Gregg County. They helped us with, will help us throughout this process before the election. But we are at the situation now where we can officially pass an order of cancellation for the November 2018 school board
Your
election.
motion?
I make that.
Patty, and second. Your second? Danny? Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. If I can get a motion to go home. All right, Paul, you have something else?
Just a question in the agenda item on this item that says the swearing in of the new board members cannot take place until the third day after the election date. Will we have a call meeting to have that happen? Or is that just happen to come here to the office?
It can happen either way.
They can walk in, they can swear me in.
Board meeting?
No.
It doesn't have to be a board
I was
meeting.
my first time
Generally, I-
starting in that office right there, because nobody.
Yeah.
Paul, motion to go home, we need a second. Patty, so, all in favor at 7:59.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Yeah, generally, I.
Thank you.